Hey, good afternoon guys. Tush coming at you Wednesday, June 28th, just after 12:15 in the afternoon. And let's head over to the calendar. We're at T-minus 81. And for those of you just joining in, that's 81 days until a British Car Day in Oakville, Ontario, hosted by the Toronto Triumph Club. And that's on Sunday, September the 17th. So we'll continue working up until that point, running out of time. But that's okay, we have other cars to take if need be, if this doesn't make it. But we'll keep working towards that day. That's the goal. Anyway, we'll come back in a bit. Alright guys, I think today's jobs will be to try to get to that kickboard in the driver's side, and you can see the light coming through there at the front. That needs to be repaired. I took a wire brush to it this morning just to reveal it a little bit more, and it looks like I need to repair a patch that almost about halfway across the kickboard all the way to the outside edge of the sill. So it might be a little bit difficult on the sill side of things to get fixed, but we'll see what we can do with that. The other thing I'd like to do is to tackle this passenger side taillight nacelle, which is in better shape. It seems to be in better shape than the driver's side was, and the flange here is obviously in much better condition as well. So looks like it's going to be a little less work on this side, but we won't know for sure until we actually get into it. So those are the two tasks I'd like to accomplish today. I'm going to get the garage cleaned up and possibly the car moved a little bit as well, because I have a guy coming to fix my garage doors, or garage door. I've got broken cables, so we've got a guy coming to fix those cables. I was thinking about doing it myself, but you know what, I'd rather pay somebody to do that job than me actually trying to do it. And I've watched a few videos on the tension that this spring is under, and it's a little bit scary, so I don't want to lose any fingers in the process. Anyway, so like I said, we'll probably clean the garage first, move the car a little bit just so the guy has access to the rollers at the top of the garage, and then we'll come back and start working on the car. Alright guys, we got the car resituated and the garage cleaned out a bit, and all the junk moved away from the garage door so the guy can get in there without issues to replace the cables. So we gave him enough room back here. Anyway, car is significantly higher. I figured it would be a little bit better if I had it higher to work on that bulkhead patch at a later date. I think first thing we're going to do this morning though, or this afternoon, is to tackle the other side of this taillight nacelle. And this side looks to be in much better condition. It's much more solid back here and down the bottom than the other one, so I might be able to get away with just cutting it back here and doing a patch in here. So that's what we're going to attempt to do anyway. So we're going to break out the cutting wheel and cut some bits off and see where we get to. Alright guys, quick update on the passenger side taillight nacelle. So here's what it looks like in the disassembled state. I'm going to stop there as far as cutting things off for now. You can see that I do need to replace this bottom piece here. It needs to be cut out, but I want to really keep this bottom reference point and this top reference point intact, because that obviously is the entire side. That's my reference point for the side replacement panel of this nacelle. I definitely want to make sure that I get that piece back in the way it came off, otherwise my whole taillight bucket's not going to fit properly back in there. So what the plan is you can see that I've ground down this inner flange on the back of the nacelle, and I'm just going to create a flange out of metal and weld that on there down to about there. And then we'll fix that top piece, and then we'll move on to fixing the bottom piece. Like I said, I want to keep the bottom piece there temporarily for reference, and then we'll continue after we've got some structure in the top, and we'll connect it to the bottom. So that's it for now guys. We'll come back when we've done some work. Oh, I did want to do one other exploratory while I'm down here. See this hole here in the rear valance? This, I believe, was for a wiring connector to come through for probably for a connector for the trailer wiring. And you can see in the trunk floor there is a corresponding hole. So both this hole and this hole need to be repaired. It looks to me like there's an awfully thick coating of Bondo here, so I'm kind of curious I'm going to take out the grinder and grind around this hole since it's got to be fixed anyway. I want to see what this rear valence looks like. You can see I already chipped off some Bondo underneath and it's got a pretty good surface rust on it, but I want to see what kind of condition it's in. I really don't want to have to replace this rear valence, so I'm just going to do a little exploratory surgery, let's say. Well, the good news is it looks like it's pretty solid metal underneath where that hole was cut in the rear valence, and I think that surface rust is going to clean up okay. So I just started doing a little bit more exploratory over here in this corner. There's an awful lot of Bondo. You can see how thick it is, and actually starting to crack here on the bottom. So I'm not sure why there's so much Bondo in this corner. Perhaps they have the fitment issue with the rear fenders matching up. So that might be an issue that I have to resolve at a later point. I just thought I'd give you a quick look of how thick that Bondo is on there before I go ahead and grind it off. I'm not sure if this car at some point might have had a little nudge in the back. Hard to say, but again, there's some brazing. This might be in factory brazing, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to clean off this Bondo just to see what we've got here, and we'll come back afterwards. Alright guys, just coming up to 6 p.m. and just waiting for the garage door guy to show up. So I've sort of cleaned everything from the back of the car so you have access to the garage door. So I'll give you an update on the rear of the car after I'm done with the garage door guy, but in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the guy, it may as well be productive. So here's the area where I want to cut out, just marked out in black Sharpie. So I think we're going to go ahead and try to cut that out carefully and make a patch for that while we're waiting. Well, I'm happy to say that both of the garage doors are now operable. Expensive though. The guy was here for about 45 minutes. And a few new parts here and there, a couple new rollers and some new cables. And that's about it. 250 bucks. Anyway, and that was negotiating with the guy. So I wasn't going any lower than 250. Anyway, I'm glad it's done. I don't like spending the money. But you know what? It would have taken me probably half a day to do what that guy did in half an hour. Plus, I don't have to worry about losing my fingers. Anyway, back onto the car, and we'll continue on this little front area trying to detach that floor from the flange. Alright guys, so we've cut that front kick panel out in the bad area, and we're just sort of grinding down the top flange piece where it's been brazed to the floor. That was not coming apart no matter what I did, so we're looking like we're probably going to destroy the front part of that floor, which really doesn't matter because I've got more serious issues to contend with. So I don't know if you can see this, but you can see quite a bit of hole in the floor panel as well. And the problem is now, let me go on the inside. Give me a second, I'll be right back. So here's the problem, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. So I showed you the front of the section that's, of the floor section, sorry for the shaky camera, the floor section that's sort of rusted on the bottom. Well, as you can see, the inner sills are also rusted, probably all the way back to about here. So I'm not going to be able to attach that floor to anything on the left-hand side because there's no solid metal there to attach it to. So that looks like it means I'm going to have to replace that inner sill from that point that I'd mentioned from here forward. Now fortunately I do have some new inner sills, so I'm thinking I might be able just to graft the nose of one of the sills off up to the front of the car. So we're still contemplating that. I'm probably going to pull the sill out of storage anyway and have a look at it and see if I might be able to utilize that. You can also see that the flange, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but the flange for the sill also is rusted away. There should be a flange on the bottom that attaches to the floor from the point of where my finger is to the front of the car, and that's non-existent. It's rusted away. Anyway, just a quick look at that. So unfortunately, it's not been a very productive day on the car today. I've just been sort of running around and doing other errands and, you know, waiting around for people to show up to fix garage doors, etc. Anyway, here's a quick update on this tail light. I'm not sure whether I did this update or not because I can't remember. It was so long ago since I did the video. But anyway, I've got the flange now in along the back and along the bottom. And we still have the reference points here, so we're going to cover this basically in here, and we'll fix this little bottom piece at the bottom in the back there with another little small patch. I did manage to get rid of some of the Bondo off the bottom of this, and you can see there's been a patch grazed in here as well. I did mention the trailer hitch hole, or the trailer wiring hole. I'm not sure why this is so much Bondo on the bottom of this car. Here's a piece that I just chipped off, and as you can see, it's pretty thick. So I'm not sure why that was applied. I'm not sure whether it's actually required. I'm not sure actually what they were trying to do. Fortunately, under the surface rust, the metal seems to be pretty solid for the most part, from what I've seen so far. We'll continue to go along the whole length of this eventually, but I'm not too unhappy with what I see so far. There's a little bit of repair work that needs to be done in here, where this flange is sort of coming apart, but other than that, I think it looks not too bad, despite all the brazing. Anyway, that's the update. Hey, good morning guys, Tush coming at you. Thursday, June 29th, just after 8:30 in the morning. We are at T-minus 80 according to the calendar. And another cold and rainy day outside today. Had a lot of rain this spring and summer so far, so I don't know. Hasn't been a great summer. Only a few days of some real heat so far. I think it's supposed to be a little bit warmer this weekend, but also calling for thunderstorms, etc. So long weekend here, being Canada Day on Monday. Anyway, back on the 68-250 this morning, and I left off yesterday at this area, and I think what we'll do is we'll finish this morning straight away before moving on to other areas of the car. So I was getting a little bit discouraged yesterday, I would say, by starting on this repair patch up in the front bulkhead firewall sort of section, which is now going to turn into a bit more of a repair than I really wanted to get into. It's going to now involve replacing a piece of the sill, and obviously a piece of the floor and a piece of the bulkhead, so 3 panels affected by rust in that area. So I've decided that I'm going to use a new sill as a patch panel for the inner sill repair, and then obviously we can fabricate a floor section and a bulkhead firewall section without too much hassle. It's going to be a bit of an issue getting that all apart. It's all been brazed together like most of the car, but we'll get to that at a later date. I've decided that also that I'm going to start to be a little bit more methodical in my approach to this car. I'm going to start to sort of stick to one area. I've been jumping around sort of around the car where I see problems that need to be fixed, but I'm missing other items that need to be fixed along the way. So, I found some areas here yesterday that I kind of knew that needed some repair. There's a repair area here. It's already had a patch put into it, but obviously needs some more attention. There's going to be some issues over here in this corner, I'm sure. Once I dig that seam sealer out, I can see a little bit of a pinhole there. I also noticed that there's an area over here that's going to need some attention. You can see some rusting through here on these seams here. So that's going to need some repairs. And they're going to have obviously a big repair here that I was aware of. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to really concentrate on a specific area of the car and sort of move my way forward. So if I start at the rear of the car, probably strip it down as far as I can to be able to see what I need to fix, and then fix this area in particular, and then move forward. That's probably the better approach, because I seem to be getting a little bit lost, or I seem to be finding more areas that need attention after the fact, because I haven't really had a good look at one particular area. And as I was kind of sitting here last night, I was shining my flashlight around and seeing all these pinholes come through the metal. So anyway, that's going to be the new approach, I think, is to concentrate on one particular area and get that straightened away before moving on to another area. So we'll probably leave that area up there for a little while anyway, and we'll work our way towards it. And like I said, we're going to concentrate back on this area this morning. We'll fix this passenger side tail light nacelle first of all, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, we've got the side piece welded onto the flange now, and it's looking pretty good. So we move around this way. So there it is from the inside and from a straight on shot. So obviously now we need to repair this section down here. So we're going to cut this now that I've got my reference back to the new piece. I'm basically going to cut this out and we're going to make a patch for this area back in here. Alright guys, the first part of the repair went well. We've got that new panel in there and it looks okay. So here's what we're faced with now. On the left side of this pod, there's basically no metal left. It's all Bondo. So we've ground it back to good metal. So now we've got to fit a small patch in there. After that's done, we've got to go back up to the top and replace this flange piece up here as well, because it's got some holes in it. So yeah, takes a while to finish these things. So 11:45 guys, and here's where we're at. So the inside is done as I'd showed you. So we put a new patch up in here as well and brought it back to here on a bit of an angle. And we had some repairs to do here just from the cut that we cut across here with a large cutting wheel, and we ended up cutting into this metal a little bit. So we've patched that up. So I think it's all over now but the grinding. So we're going to get a grinding wheel out and finish grinding this, and so basically 12 noon we'll be done this. So what did I start at 8:30 on this? So it takes a while. Alright guys, that's now ground down as far as I want to go anyway. I think it looks okay. So happy with that. No more Bondo patching holes. It's all solid metal, which is good. So we will move on to a new area after I have some lunch. Haven't even had breakfast yet. Alright guys, we're back from lunch and had a couple of nice BLTs. So we're good to go for another few hours. So keeping with the theme of staying on the back of the car, we're going to replace a little bit of metal here where there's a bit of a hole, and we're going to try to do a big patch down here. And it looks like this patch coincides with the bracket for the body mount on the inside. So I'm not sure if that bracket is just sort of trapping water there, but anyway, we'll see what we can do with that. That's going to be a bit of a challenge, I'm sure, as well. So we'll see what we can do with that. So yeah, I'm definitely getting some rust through from the bracket. You can just see the edge of the bracket from the body mount below, and it's just rusting up through the top. I've just discovered another part here which has to be cut out. I'm assuming this is going to be the other side of the body mount bracket, so we'll cut this out to expose it as well and see what we've got. Okay, here's where we're at guys. So we have those two top brackets exposed and the metal cut out on the top of them, and we've got this box cut out down the bottom. The only problem is the legs of this top bracket are actually attached to this somewhere along here. So what I need to do is I need to drill out some spot welds. I can't really see them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the sandblaster out, and we're going to do a little sandblasting in this area to see if I can expose some spot welds that I can drill out to get this piece of metal off in relatively good undamaged condition. I'm trying not to damage the bracket in behind, so we'll see what we can do. See if we can do a little sandblasting action here. Did I get into your eye? Alright guys, there's a quick look at that structure in behind the panel. So we'll again break the sandblaster out, we'll clean up that flange, repair those holes that we drilled the spot welds out, and we'll just plug those back up. And we'll create a new patch, make some holes for some new plug welds, and we'll weld it back in. Anyway, we're going to sandblast that first and zinc prime it. Alright guys, just coming up to 7 o'clock, and we're going to call that area repaired. So we can move on to probably the other side now. So I'm happy with that. It's much better than it was. So yeah, we'll probably move over here now. I'm probably going to have some dinner first, but we'll probably move over here and we'll start investigating what we got here with all this seam sealer hiding. Anyway, I'm sure it won't be good. We'll come back later. So just coming up to 8 o'clock, had some nice British fare, some fish and chips for dinner. Anyway, we're under a storm warning now, so they're calling for high winds, thunder and lightning, and nickel-sized hail. So let's see what happens tonight. Anyway, it looks like it's just starting up. Alright guys, so as mentioned, we're going to try to get to the bottom of what's behind all of this seam sealer. So what I've got here is a heat gun and a scraper, and we're going to heat that up and scrape that out as best as possible to see what we've got. I'm hoping it's just some crappy welding back there, but I'm assuming that there's going to be some rusted flanges, etc. Anyway, we won't waste any time guessing. We may as well just get right to it and strip that out of there. Well, kind of a tough call on this side. I've got rid of that seam sealer on the first panel anyway, and it's actually a pretty solid patch with the exception of this area here, which is going to also be the same as I think the areas that we fixed on the other side. So this would be the top of that body mount, and you can see it sort of, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's just starting to come in through there as well. So we may do the same repairs on the top as we did over here, but we may just repair this area and leave the rest of that patch. I don't think there's much else I can do with that. It'll be a mess for me to try to get that out, I can guarantee that. Now as far as the other section is concerned, that is a less stellar job at patching by the previous owners of this car. So it looks like they ended the metal quite high. I'm not sure if they've actually patched it from the other side. I think that's probably what they did. This patch is on this side. The other patch looks like it might be coming from the back side. So who knows? I might be able to clean that up and lay a piece of metal in there and join it back up and make it look okay. I haven't decided what I'm going to do there yet, but I definitely need to get that cleaned out better. I did scrape that seam sealer out, but there it's very, like, I think there's a lot of weld and stuff on the inside of this, so it's being difficult to actually get that to scrape clean. So I'm trying to wire brush it, but it's not coming off very well. So I think I need a bigger wire brush and probably an angle grinder to get that off and to clean that up. So we'll figure out what we want to do. I know there's a big repair that needs to happen up in here. It's pretty thin. You can sort of see the edge coming through here. I've looked underneath. There's been a patch put in here previously and not well. I can see a lot of welding wire coming. Somebody actually MIG welded something, if you can believe that, as I can see a lot of welding wire coming through the other side. Anyway, we'll get to that eventually, but we'll figure out what we want to do over here first. Alright, so I got the Sharpie out, and here's what we're going to cut out. And I want a little piece here. We'll start with that anyway and see where we get to. So that little rust spot might have not looked like much on the surface, but here's what it looks like once you get the patch out and you have a look underneath. Pretty flaky rust under here. And we got to clean that flange up, and then of course this piece itself is pretty rusty and flaky, so I'm glad we cut that out. It's the right way to do it, even though if it didn't look too bad in the beginning. Alright guys, we have all three of those repair areas cut out now. And just doing some exploratory and found some more issues here in the corner of the wheel well. It's kind of expected. There was a bunch of seam sealer in the corner. I figured that would be rusted, so we've got to make some repairs there to both the wheel well tub and this piece of metal that borders it. I'm going to get under the car and have a look and see what it looks like underneath the car as far as patching in this area. Like I said, I know there's a patch right there, and we'll see what it looks like from underneath. Alright guys, here's the damage to the bottom of the wheel well. Looking up from underneath the car. So obviously we need to put a new flange on there and a new wheel well piece. And here's the other damage I was talking about. You can see all the welding wire coming through there as well. So pretty flaky, rusty looking stuff. So we're going to pull off that ugly patch. Probably original metal on the bottom with just a patch over top of it. So anyway, we'll clean this area up and have a better look at it. And obviously we'll fix that while we're down here fixing the wheel well area. I know it's getting hard to see, guys, but I don't know if you can see those lines. So those are the cut lines that I want to do. All the way over, down the flange, and back across. So we want to cut that piece out. So we're going to try to do that as the last task for this evening before we go in. So got the cutting wheel out, so we'll go to town and see what we can do. Alright guys, end of night. We got another big hole and more work ahead of us tomorrow. So at least we've got that area cut out. Let me see if I can give you a better shot of what that looks like. I'm getting the light over here. So here's what that patch looks like on the bottom. So you can see it's just a patch over a patch. So we managed to get it out in fairly good shape, which is good because I'll have to use this as a template to be able to get that flange back in for the wheel well. So anyway, we're going to call it a night. I think it's about 9:30 or so, or maybe close to 10, I don't know. And we'll call it a night there, and we'll get back out here tomorrow. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.